many of you had the good fortune of seeing Tony Ferguson's latest training video? Now, if you haven't, stop what you're doing, including watching this piece, and go do it right now. If you have, did it warm your heart as much as it did mine? And I also must tell you, if you didn't do it, basically Tony sets up a camera. I mean, Tony is the producer and the star and the writer of this piece of theater, all in one. So your establishing shot is Tony in kind of an open room format. His workout partner is a giant foam block, a square. A little more on the rectangular side of things, I suppose, but he's working out with said block. And there becomes a question, what all can you do with a giant foam block? First off, why do you even own one and where did you get it? Secondly, what all can you do with it? Well, if you watch the video, you can do any damn thing you want with it. Tony slid across this thing like he was Bo Duke. He head sprang across it in the other direction. He hit spinning kicks on it. He hit knees. He sliced it up with some elbows. There was some breakdancing element to it. He stood it upright on the tall end, changed elevation, fired a shot, took the son of a bitch all the way down, by the way. Takes this foam block down. He bounces off the mat. Tony goes one way. Block stays where it was. But there was a little bit more to this. Okay, I have always thought for the last 3 years of Tony doing these absolutely insane workouts that Tony is doing nothing more than having some fun. Making himself the butt of a joke and having some fun. But here's the problem. If you go and watch what Tony does with this giant block, it is extremely athletic and well choreographed. I mean, you could tell that Tony was not just screwing around, turned his camera on, and went and played with the nearest apparatus that he had. No, there was a system. There was a method to this madness. When he slid across it like Bo Duke, turned it over, head springs the next way, comes back, does a kip up off the ground, does a little break dance, comes in with an elbow, hits a spinning kick. He had done this before. He had done this many times before. And I'm starting to begin that, no, Tony's just into some weird workouts. And I like the whole thing, and he even captioned it with active rest day or something like that. So he kind of tipped his hand to the crowd that this isn't my version of trying to emulate Khabib. This is me not wanting to sit around on the couch, and at the very least, I get a little timing out of it, and I get a good sweat. And I really appreciated that. And I have to tell you, I don't know how many of these crazy workouts he does as supplemental workouts as opposed to what he's doing as his actual workouts. Whatever Tony's doing, I don't know that any of us could disagree with him, though. St. Pierre was doing workouts that nobody thought would translate to a cage fight either. I mean, he was going in there with children and working on gymnastics. Okay. I had an old friend, T-Von Abel, one of the better wrestlers I ever grew up with. When he had to go lose weight, all the rest of us, we'd jump rope or we'd work and we'd run, sauna. He used to put on a whole bunch of clothes and then turn on some music, and he was a good dancer. He'd go dance, and he'd dance for 40 minutes till he was covered in sweat and then go get on the scale. I'm just saying, some of the greats have their own kind of system, and I don't know that we can go and question them. But one of the reasons that I thought Tony was just hustling us all and just having fun, I used to be his teammate. I saw Tony every day, and guess what Tony did that was weird? Nothing. He did absolutely nothing. He got to practice on time. He changed his gear. He visited with the guys. Coach says, get warmed up. He gets warmed up. Coach says, work on this move. He works on that move. Coach says, it's time to go live. He goes live. What he would do after all of that was amongst the most dedicated, disciplined, and hardest working athletes I have ever come across. But he wasn't breakdancing. He wasn't kicking foam blocks. He was grabbing fighters, staying in the middle, and they'd rotate on him, he'd stay in. And when they all got tired, Tony would go over to the heavy bag. Tony would be the absolute last one to leave, except for one day. One day I said, you know what? I've had enough. I'm staying until this guy leaves. Never said a word to Tony. Tony may not know to this day that I was there. Went and sat down in the corner, sat there. Sat there for 55 minutes until he walked out so that I could see everything this crazy guy did. But it was all very standard skills. Working on a heavy bag is very standard. Sparring with partners is very standard. getting some sprints in, hitting the jump rope. This is all very normal stuff. He just did a lot of it to an extremely impressive amount. My respect for Tony Ferguson changed after seeing this because it was extra. It was on his own. He was showing off for nobody. He was trying to show nobody up. Everybody had left, he thought, except me. I was in the corner. So I'm bringing you guys this story. But I only share that because he wasn't doing, there was none of these goofy things. There was no cameras involved. He wasn't looking for any. I think he's having fun. I think Tony is having a little bit of fun, and there maybe he hasn't thought it through this far, but maybe he has. Maybe Tony wants us all thinking that he's working out with a block. Maybe Tony wants us all thinking that he's throwing elbows and shadow boxing while skateboarding down Santa Monica Boulevard. Maybe he's being a little bit of a gamesman himself. I can tell you, I think he's having some fun. I can also tell you from firsthand experience, he knows how to train the right way.